Well, the Munster LGFA Senior Championship got underway last weekend with Kerry defeating Waterford and Cork getting over Tipperary after the Titanic battle. And joining us now to look back at them games and look ahead to next weekend with Paul Jenkins and Dearbhla Morrissey. Lads, how are things?
Not too bad, Tomás.
Not too bad, Tomás.
Paul, you were in Frater Fields. Kerry picking up from their league performances.
Yeah, and they were fairly impressive throughout, in fairness to them. Now, Waterford did their best to put it up to them, but Megan Dunford got injured after 5 minutes, and it was always going to be a bit difficult after that, like when you've one of your better players. And Pat O'Sullivan, after even described her as their best player, she went off after 5 minutes. Like Louise Mhuircheartaigh was bearing down in goals at the time, and she put her body on the line. I think she ended up twisting her knee. They said it was a knee injury after, so she was a big loss, and that definitely didn't help Waterford, because it was always going to be uphill after that anyway, playing against the league champions, as you said.
Yeah, because I suppose Dunford was there. She's after getting full back on the National League team, and she was probably there to do an American job on Mhuircheartaigh. And she done well to get back and block that chance, but obviously it came at a high price.
Absolutely. And Mhuircheartaigh went on to score 1-7 like in the game. Now, two of them were from frees, but the rest was from play. Like, so she had a huge impact on the game, and you'd wonder if Dunford had managed to stay on for the whole game, what kind of shackles would she have put on her? But in fairness to Waterford, like at half time, it was 1-5 to 4 points. But just before half time was 4-all. And Niamh Carmody, who was playing number 10, was up and down the field all day, almost like Paul Galvin used to play back in the day. Like, she's a real worker. She picked the ball up about 30 yards from the Kerry goal, ran about 70 up to the edge of the box, fisted the ball in over the top, and Mhuircheartaigh then just on the fly hit it in over the goalie. That put him 4 points to 1-4. Then on the kick out, they won a free. She kicked it over. So then at half time, you're looking at 1-5 to Kerry, 4 to Waterford, which kind of turned the game on its head, really, like with 4 points each up a few seconds before that. And then the second half, Kerry kind of just went on from there again. Like, it was very hard for Waterford to get back into it. That goal is a real sucker punch to come just before half time.
Should there have been a free to Waterford before it, though?
Yeah, you said that all right. I'm not quite sure. It was I was following the ball as much as anything else, but it was a great goal either way. I don't know what was your thoughts on it.
Well, look, the referee was playing the advantage, but I didn't see much advantage coming. Did you see the chance beforehand, Dearbhla?
Yeah, to be honest, in my opinion, I thought I should have been brought back for that free. But look, I suppose at the end of the day, it's up to the ref what he decides. And look, either way, it was a super goal, like, you know. But yeah, look, it wouldn't have made a whole lot of difference. Kerry still were going to grab that win anyway at the end. But yeah, I know, sure, these things happen.
Yeah, and I suppose Kellyanne Hogan, Paul, 5 points, 4 from play, and Bríd McMaw, the two of them kept Waterford in it the whole way through.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that'd be one thing Pat O'Sullivan would be looking at, though. They only had 2 scorers. Kellyanne got 5, as you said. Bríd McMaw got 3. And that was kind of it for the day. Like, you're looking at the likes of Lauren McGregor coming into that game. She had 6 goals in the 6 league games coming into it. She didn't get a score at all. She didn't even get a huge amount of the ball. Lynch was on her. Eilish Lynch was on her and did a great job. And Katie Murray started in place of Karen McGrath, the team captain. Now, Karen came on in the second half and made a bit of an impact. But it's just scoring options, I suppose, is what they were lacking, as opposed to Kerry on the other side, who had scores from 4 or 5 different players.
Yeah, and I suppose, Dearbhla, we've seen a lot of Bríd McMaw the last 12 months or that, and she's still fairly young, and there's huge potential there from her.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, we've seen her a lot over the last couple of months, and what she's shown out in the football field is, for such a young age, it is, you know, it's great to see it. And yeah, absolutely, in the next coming months, you know, she will be one of the top players that's out there.
Yeah, and like, would have seen her with Loretto as well, and she was probably the backbone of that team from midfield. Like, there was plenty of Tipp minors on it, Waterford minors and that, but she was definitely the star of that Loretto team.
Oh yeah, absolutely, without doubt. You know, the way she just controls the game, she's has a real mind for football, and it's very obvious even when she's out playing Waterford that she has that. And you know, age doesn't. You can see that it's not a fear factor for her. You know, she just goes out there and plays her way she plays a football, and it's really good.
Yeah, and Paul, just going back to Kerry, like obviously Mhuircheartaigh with 1-5 as you said, or 1-7, sorry, but the likes of Niamh Cameron done huge work up and down the field, and that goal epitomised the work that she done.
Yeah, like Niamh Cameron was hugely impressive. I know Mhuircheartaigh got all the headlines because of all their scores, but Niamh Cameron, like I'd say, was responsible for setting up 50, if not 60% of them. She was everywhere, and it's just she was so composed. She was kind of playing the quarterback role, as I said, where she was able to like get the ball, compose herself, and then spot a pass. And her kick passing was a joy to behold. Now she didn't score herself, but she was so impressive. You can see why she won the All-Star last year. And I'm talking to Darragh Lyons after, like he said, she's on a really rich vein of form, and it's continuing on for her. But like if you look at the Kerry squad, even like coming into it, as you said, they had to play. I think did they have 11 players or 9 players from the team of the league coming into it? They had 4 All-Stars starting. Like the strength and depth, even if you look at the subs, they're able to bring on Cahir Lynch, who was the All-Star last year. They've like Louise Galvin, who's all her experience with the rugby international level, and Danielle O'Leary, who's just doing amazing things coming off the bench. She's like Kevin McMenamin used to be for Dublin. Like she's almost too good as a sub. Will she ever start a game again? But like that's the strength and depth they have.
Yeah, and no Sheaffer O'Shea either.
They didn't start Sheaffer O'Shea exactly. Hannah O'Donoghue started, and like as you know, Hannah O'Donoghue scored 1-3 in the league final a few weeks ago. Like, so what a sub to be able to bring in its place.
Yeah, and I suppose moving on to Cahir and Sunday Dearbhla, Tipp probably never have a better chance of beating Cork.
Yeah, it was a super game of football. From the start, Tipp definitely have really shown what they've taken out of the league, and that game against Cork was definitely one of their best performances they've ever put up against Cork, and it was a really enjoyable game of football, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was probably the best game of football involving Tipp in the last couple of years that we've seen. I know Ashley Maloney catch the headlines, but it was a real team performance. Even the subs that came in, they all contributed.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, look, Aisling may have the headlines there, but if to be at the game and to just watch, the balls, the work rate from her teammates around her, keeping in them perfect balls, the defending that Tipp were doing, it was incredible to watch it really, because the speed that the game went at, and Cork, at times you could see that Cork were under immense pressure. They didn't know what to do with Tipp. And it was a really, really good team effort by Tipp, and there's a lot to take from that going into their next game.
Yeah, and Paul, I don't know if you saw it when you looked at it back, but like Dara Canary would have started full back in Maloney, and they brought Emer Meany back from midfield, and they tried to play Roisin Phelan in front of her, but the off the ball running that she was making, and the likes of Emma Morrissey, Ava Fennessy in the first half, Angela McGuigan. Like McGuigan didn't get too much ball, but the off the ball running they were doing, confusing Cork backs, and Maloney was running into positions, and it was kind of opening up for Maloney.
Yeah, I was watching it back and just listening to your commentary. You did comment on that a good few times, the off the ball running. And I suppose, is that going to be a big part of what Tipperary are going to have to do? Like every team is going to look at that 15 and see, geez, Ashley Maloney, we need to keep an eye on her. So it should make space in other places, and hopefully they'll be able to exploit it. And they have good players, like you said, as well as McGuigan and a couple other players who can just run off the ball and should be able to take those chances. But they do need, I suppose, someone to help her out a small bit. 112 of 114 was it? Like you do need to maybe spread around the scores a small bit.
Yeah, and like I suppose like the likes of Emma Morrissey, she stood up there last couple of years, Dearbhla, when Maloney was injured, and she was kicking 6 and 7 points. Like, so they will look to the likes of her. If Maloney does have an off day, or if a couple of teams get on top of her, it will be up to the likes of Emma Morrissey and these to step up.
You could see even that Emma Morrissey, as you said, she was, always there making them runs. And as you said, when Ashley was out injured, Emma Morrissey did step up and was kicking, tremendous scores, from all angles of the field. And even the other day, she was making tremendous runs. But again, she was picking out Maloney all the time, like all the rest of them. And I don't know, is it something there that they're afraid to take on their own scores, that Maloney's back in there, sitting around the edge of the square, and they're depending on her, to be getting the scores. But as you said, like as Paul said there, you know, you can't be relying on Maloney all the time, and you know, scoring 112 at 114, it's brilliant. Like, don't get me wrong, if you score that in any game, it's fantastic. But you know, you have to do another 6 forwards at the end of the day. You know, share that around, and the girls need to start taking on their own scores as well.
And Paul, is it a bit like when Declan Brown was playing? Fellas used to be afraid to take on a shot for fear they'd miss it. They were looking for Declan Brown, and like we seen Kerry used to do well putting the likes of Tomás O'Shea or Mark O'Shea and Seamus Moynihan in front of Brown. Is it the same kind of thing with Ashley Maloney?
It is a little bit. You can only imagine that if you're, I don't know, a player whose maybe confidence isn't as high as it should be, you're coming up to the goals, you're 21 yards out, and you're like, will I take this on? You're like, oh, gee, well, I've one of the best forwards in the country there beside me, but I'll just give it to her. She'll probably score, maybe I won't score, and people will be on to me. So I presume there is a bit of that, all right. Because when you have someone who's so good, it means maybe you can take the foot off the accelerator a small bit. I'll just give it on to her. But there was definitely a couple of chances, especially in that first half. And I think he mentioned it on commentary, where there was a chance to take on a shot, and maybe that shot wasn't taken on, and you cut back inside and things like that, when maybe the pass could have been, or the shot could have been taken on. So yeah, that's definitely something you'd imagine Peter would be working on during the week.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Hammer Spillane yesterday, Paul, and I was saying obviously he would have soldiered with Decky Brown and that, and his answer was, well, Decky Brown had good forwards around him, we were able to make space for him.
Yeah, it's one way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah, well, looking at Cork, like Cork were in trouble there early in the first half, Dearbhla, and Ciara O'Sullivan, she had number 15 on her back, but she probably played the same kind of role as what Niamh Carmody did for Kerry. Like, she was all over the field, and she was back in her own 14, carrying balls out up the field, like, and she had a huge bearing on the game.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, Ciara O'Sullivan was wearing number 15, but that had, you know, she could have been wearing 1-2-15 because she was covering every inch of that field the other day, and her contribution to that whole game was phenomenal. And you know, as we gave her player of the match and that game, and it was so well deserving because her work rate was phenomenal. You know, as you said, she was covering every part of the game, bringing in the ball, defending it, carrying it out, and yeah, she was really, really good now the other day.
Yeah, and Darren O'Sullivan, of course, kicked 5 as well, 4 from play. But like Cork ended up scoring 114 from play. They only Emer Kiley got 2 points at the start from frees, and Darren O'Sullivan got another one. But 114 is fair scoring from play.
Oh, it is, yeah, absolutely. You know, to be scoring anything above that, even 110, like you see that it's an average in any game. To be scoring above that is phenomenal. And you know, Tipp, we're getting there as well. You know, and it just goes to show that the standard of the level that they're playing at now is going through the roof, and you know, getting these scores when they can is phenomenal. Like even the accuracy range, like some of them girls are popping scores, you know, 30-35 yards out of the field at, you know, all different angles. They weren't even directly in front of the goal, and like it's going to be very hard to stop anything like that when you're scoring 30-35 yards out of the field, you know.
Yeah, because Anna Ryan as well, Paul, she only made her debut on Sunday. She's out straight out of minor. She would have been part of the All-Ireland minor team. The work rate that she done at wing forward up and down the field as well. Like, she came in for no less a player than Libby Coppinger. Like, Libby was with Camogie on Sunday, and she probably only found out late in the day that she was starting.
And I suppose she's looking up to the likes of Ciara O'Sullivan and those players who are absolute workhorses and saying, gee, this is how you play the game. This is how you win. Ciara O'Sullivan must have 7 or 8 All-Irelands at least. Like, I know she was captain there for a few of them even. Like, so when you're looking up to those kind of players, you're like, this is how you play the game. And I suppose that's why Cork have such a conveyor belt over the last few years. One thing I was trying to figure out from the stream was the conditions. Like, I know below in Dungarvan on Sunday, the weather changed like 4 times. It was hailstones a few minutes before throw-in. Then the sun was splitting the rocks. And just the breeze coming in then from the sea in Dungarvan is always kind of something to be contented with. What was it like in Cahir, and how do you think that affected the game?
Well, there was a shower around 12:30 that lasted about 60 seconds, and another one maybe 15 minutes after that. But the heat there was unreal. It was the warmest day so far, Dearbhla, wasn't it? Even the way Shane Ronan and Ciara O'Sullivan spoke after it, they said all the training that they've done over the last 6 or 7 months, didn't prepare them for the heat that they faced on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Kira, when I was bringing her in off the field for the interview, she was even like, they weren't expecting it to be as warm, and it was completely dead heat. And the sun was coming straight down on top of them. There was no breeze there at all. So both teams were struggling with that. When you're playing at a high level of football and you're running up and down the field, and then there's 17, 18 degrees sun coming in on top of you, you could see that the girls were at times, you could even hear them roaring in for water every time there was a stoppage, because you can't prepare for this. It's Irish weather, it'll come and go. You couldn't make promises that it was going to be sunny the other day. And as Paul said, look, he had hailstones down in Fright, so it just goes to show what is going to be expected. And look, even the weekend coming, we could have the same conditions, or it could be completely the opposite way around, and we'll be out in rain jackets and everything else,
Yeah, I suppose looking forward to this weekend, Paul. You're in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, a huge game with Cork and Kerry this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely massive, and an absolute stadium to put it on as well, a huge stadium. So we'll see how that works. Now it'll be good to see the old neighbours, and both of them will probably be saying, we're the top two teams in this group. We want to be getting the win here. We want to have a bit of bragging rights. Like, I suppose the last time they met was back in the league there. It was St. Patrick's Day and Kerry came out on top. But that probably won't have much bearing, because I think Cork were already through to the league final and they rested a few players. So, but still, I'd say neither of them want to lose to their near neighbours, but it'll make for a good contest. And just, we know that the Munster Championship have a direct bearing on the All-Ireland, but the seeding has a big say, I suppose. And even one thing I didn't mention earlier was the sideline. There was a really feisty atmosphere between Pat O'Sullivan and the Kerry backroom team there in front of us. We were watching that nearly as much as we were watching the ball in Fraher Field. Like, there was no step being taken back. It was like Cody and Anthony Cunningham back there around 2012 in the hurling. Like, they were going for it. They had to be separated a few times. Now, they all shook hands at the end and they were all saying, not to only in the game. But it made for intrigue and view, and it's something to keep an eye on, I suppose, for the rest of the season, just to see these managers getting into it as well. But yeah, Cork and Kerry on Sunday, I'm really looking forward. I'd say it will be a good one, and there's plenty of good players on the line to absolutely, I suppose, grace the field of Páirc Uí Chaoimh there. And it's great that they're getting it in lots of ways. It's unfortunate maybe in some ways that maybe supporters mightn't be able to make it, but I suppose that's the beauty of it being streamed, and it'll actually probably play into that. If you want to try and make the men's Munster final and the women's Cork Kerry game, the best place to do it is right here watching it on the stream.
Yeah, and looking to that game as well, Maura Callahan, she's been out injured there. Now, she done the warm-up last Sunday. If she can make it back for Cork, that'll be a huge addition for them.
Again, their strength and depth on both sides is unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll wonder how with the Camogie, I think, were the Camogie team beaten last week? So were they beaten by Waterford? So are they available now? I'm not 100% sure of that, but if they are, again, sure, that'll make a huge difference. Yeah,
because I was actually looking at something popped up on Valerie Mulcahy's Instagram the other day, Dearbhla, and I think she was involved with a minor team a couple of years ago. I'm not sure whether it was under 16 or minor. And a lot of these players are after coming through. Like, Cork have huge experience, but there's some amount of young players as well. Like, they've brought 11 of last year's minor team through.
Yeah. Look, I suppose Cork being such, football in Cork, it's there for them all the time, and the numbers that are coming up from younger ages is phenomenal, and you can see the development that is put in Cork ladies football. It's phenomenal, and to see then these young girls coming up and making the impact on their adult team. And if you even look at it, you wouldn't even realize that some of these girls are just fresh out of minor, because it never affects them. They just fall straight into the adult group, and they come out then on the field, and it's like they've been playing all along, and it's phenomenal to see that. And a lot more counties are even at it now as well. They are bringing in the younger girls. Like, you see in Tipp now, they're starting to bring in a few of the younger girls and start developing up along. And in years to come, it's these teams are just going to be growing and growing all the time. And I've no doubt in a year or two, that teams are just going to be overflowing nearly with girls, putting up their hands and challenging one another, to make into their adult team.
Yeah, it makes good for competition on these panels as well, Paul. So many players coming through. And I suppose one thing you notice, the physicality of these girls, the strength and conditioning that they're doing now at the moment is unbelievable.
Absolutely, and it'd be interesting to talk to a few more players of that throughout the season. But one big thing below for our field, and it's always a thing with when you watch a match with someone who's not overly familiar with ladies football, and you always hear in the crowd when you're doing ladies football matches, is when they kind of come together, when the charging element, we'll call it, the player with the ball, you'd expect from the men's game maybe that they're going to get the free. But in ladies football, it's always goes the other way. So it happened a few times again on Sunday where the team on the attack had the ball and then a player stood him up and the free goes in favour of the defender, and everyone in the crowd is gone mad about it. Now the people who know why it is, but it's always a thing. And it's, I don't know, Dearbhla probably has a stronger opinion on this, or more knowledgeable opinion on this. That rule, how do players on the ground feel about it?
Yeah, it's a hard one, to be honest, Paul, because you even look at it, like, majority of girls that are playing ladies football are playing camogie as well. And you know, when it comes the physical level in camogie, you know, it's a lot more physical. You know, you can do that shoulder now in camogie, and that was brought in. And you know, when you're coming over to football, it's in the nicest way. It's you know, it's timid. Like, you know, there needs, I think, something has to be changed about the ladies' game, because you can see that these girls are strong enough. You know, like, you see it on the field that they're, you know, they're well able to, you know, hit each other, you know, a good slap. And that's then when the frees are coming all the time and you're getting a ticking for it. Like, you know, and at the end of the day, nobody's going out to purposely floor somebody, you know, like, and you just need to have that bit more physicality in the game, because, you know, that's when the real excitement comes into the game. And, you know, it's more enjoyable to see that, instead of, you know, a little touch and the whistle then is blowing, you're stopping, and you're wondering as well, you know, can we not just keep going? And then the ref is calling in and you're getting a ticking because you stood your ground or whatever, you know. And it's hard on the girls when you're playing it as well. Like, even when I'm playing and your frees are getting away like that, you just love to see the game start changing and, you know, let that bit more physicality come into it. And I think if it does, you know, it will be way more, there'll be completely more flow to the game. And, you know, girls will not purposely start going doing it, but, you know, they're going to have more confidence, because they're not, you know, second guessing themselves when they're going into tackles or whatever, that, oh geez, am I going to give away a free now if I do this, you know?
Yeah, I suppose the referee in the Tipp and Cork match let a lot of that go. There was a few people on the sideline and in the standing that wondering, but there was plenty of collisions in that game, and he just put up the arms and let him play well.
That definitely wasn't the case below Farfield, and it might have stood to the game. But I suppose the referee in Farfield, whose name after, I don't think I got in the day, I'm forgetting it now anyway. He was playing the rules, I suppose, as he saw them, and that's the way they are. And that's what he has to do, I suppose, or he won't get any more games. But it does look awful, to be honest, when the player who's trying to go in for their score gets the free given against them, when they seem to be doing all the right things, and all the defender has to do is stand there and let someone run into him, and they win a free. It just seems it's an odd rule.
Yeah, going back to Sunday, Paul, the Páirc Uí Chaoimh, it's going to be a huge battle, but who would you fancy to come out of it on top? Whoever comes out of it has 1 foot in the Munster final.
Yeah, and I presume that's what they'll be saying. That's what they'll be saying both camps during the week. I just think the Kerry team, looking at it, as I said, the strength and depth they even have, like to be able to bring on the likes of Caught Lynch, as I said, Daniel O'Leary, Louise Galvin, those type of players. Like, I don't know our Cork at that level, strength and depth wise, just yet. And just the way Kerry's season has gone and everyone is rolling for them. And I suppose it's something that they haven't won. They've won an awful lot in the last couple of seasons, but they'd really like to win the Munster, I imagine. And they'll be doing everything they can to keep up their, well, near 100% record. And then the fact that Cork beat them in the league, maybe that's the only slight blemish on their copybook for the last few weeks. So I think I'd go with Kerry after seeing that. But then again, it's below in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I suppose you could argue that maybe the advantage isn't as much with the home side, because Cork haven't played there a hell of a lot of times, but have still played there more than Kerry. But anyway, in saying all that, I'm going to go with Kerry by maybe 2 points.
Yeah, Dearbhla, I suppose Kerry, probably odds-on favourite for a clean sweep, League, Munster and All-Ireland at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I agree with Paul here, look, that Kerry might be just that, you know, step ahead of Cork. But I'd still in all, I think it's going to be a really exciting game of football. You know, I think seeing what Cork produced there on Sunday in Cahir, and even, seeing Kerry, what they put up against Waterford, I think it's going to be a very, very close game. And I just think Kerry will have that little bit more of an advantage of, more strength. And you see Kerry, like the height of the girls, even that are out in the field, and I think that might be just that little bit extra for them to get over that line. But I've no doubt that it's going to be a very, very exciting game of football.
Yeah, and I suppose Tipp and Waterford, we're only after getting word there before we came on. The game has been moved from Fahar Field to Dungarvan GA ground. I think Davy Fitz has decided he wants Fahar Field, and they're talking about fairness in the men's and women's game, and the women are told a few days beforehand that they can't get Fahar Field.
Yeah, it's hard, and I think that's the way it is in so many counties, that the men are kind of getting their top pick, and it is hard, when the women are putting in just as much the hard work and the effort, and to be told that they're going playing at Fahar Field, and then to be told a few days before that they're not, it's kind of a kick into the teeth to them, what's it telling the ladies, are they not, up to the standard of what the men are playing at and stuff. It's harsh, to be honest. I think if the ladies were told they're playing in Fahar Field, that's where they should be staying,
Yeah, and Paul, I suppose, what was wrong with the Waterford Senior hurlers going to maybe WIT or something?
There's plenty of facilities. Clonagh isn't too far out the road. I know Tipperary hurlers have gone down there and stayed there a few days. And Carriganore isn't too far in the road, and that's where Waterford usually train. So yeah, I'm very surprised at that. In fairness, that's fairly appalling now, in fairness, because this has been flagged a few weeks in advance, hasn't it? The Waterford ladies will play their 2 home games in Fahar Field. So yeah, I can't imagine they're too happy about that.
Yeah, and look, looking ahead to the game, as we said, Tipp giving a good performance last Sunday, but they'd not the show for it. They'd want to come away with a win over this Dearbhla.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, seeing what they, the way they played there on Sunday, I've no doubt that if they go in with the same attitude against Waterford and get going straight away like they did and play the way they played the other day, I don't think Waterford, will keep into them. And I think, Tipp have every single chance here to get a win under them. But as I said, they have to get going from the start and play the way they played the other day. And I genuinely don't think Waterford will be able to stop them.
Yeah, did you see anything in Waterford last Sunday to see that they could win this football?
Yeah, to be very boring, I'm going to agree with Dearbhla as well. From what I've seen of both teams there from the last game, you'd have to fancy Tipperary as well. Waterford, they probably won't be delighted with how they played themselves, and only getting as much as we thought about Ashley Maloney being the only scorer for Tipp. They only had 2 scorers the last day out, so that'll definitely have to change for them. But yeah, I know it's a Division 1 team in Waterford playing a Division 2 team, no, it's not yet, but it's just you'd have to fancy Tipperary, I should say. I'm kind of contradicting myself now, but no, Waterford weren't as good as they probably should have been and would have liked to have been the last day. So going and seeing the 2 performances, you'd have to fancy Tipperary looking at that.
Yeah, Niamh Martin didn't start last Sunday, Dearbhla. She came on at half-time and had a big influence on the game. She's going to be pushing for a starting place this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And she was unlucky there. I know she was holding a bit of an injury with her, but she came in at half-time and she really did, straight away, she made a huge impact. And as you said, she's really pushing for a starting place. And to be honest, I won't be surprised if she does start at the weekend, because she really, really did step up straight away when she came in at halftime.
Yeah, and the likes of Anya Delaney are probably surprising that she was taken off at halftime. She was carrying a fierce amount of ball there for Tipp, she would have been disappointed, and no doubt she's going to knuckle down this week and try and get her place back in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100% there. We were surprised even when we seen that she was coming off, because from the word go, Anya's work rate was phenomenal. And she done so much of the work off of the ball. It was really, really good. And I've no doubt that she had to be disappointed coming off, because the work that she done, there should have been no reason she was coming off. But as you said, I say she'll knuckle down now again and try and get her spot back.
Yeah, and Paul, I suppose all that off the ball running that they're doing, and they might be getting on the ball. Can that work out as a disadvantage to some of them players at times? Like we didn't see much of Angela McGuigan in play, but her work rate off the ball was unbelievable.
Yeah, and I know we touched on already with the heat there as well. It's hard to keep that even going, and you'd wonder. It's a fairly short turnaround from last week to play again this week, and they're playing again the following week, and then championship isn't too far away as well. You'd wonder what are the manager's mindsets like. What is he telling them now? I know go out the first week you want to win the game. What do you do now? Like both Tipp and Waterford will feel they can win the game on Sunday, so they'll probably be targeting that, and then where do they go from there? Kind of thing. It's kind of interesting to see the way they target this competition in some ways.
Yeah, and like we spoke about Breed McMaw, Kellyanne Hogan and that, but Karen McGrath surely start this weekend as well, Paul.
Well, from what she did when she came on the last day, unless there's an injury, I don't understand why she didn't start the last day, because she made a huge contribution and being the captain, and she picked up the ball way back in her own defence, and she was trying to bring it out every single time. And she's a great player. She's won that All-Ireland back in the intermediate back in 2015. She was a water girl back even when she was a young one. So there's no one who knows more about water for ladies football than Karen McGrath. So I can't see a reason why she wouldn't start unless she was carrying an injury again and she didn't get over it, or she picked up something in that game. But she made a big contribution when she did come on the last day.
Yeah, and Megan Dunford would probably be a huge loss. It'd be hard to see her back this weekend.
Just from what Pat O'Sullivan was saying after, there's no chance I say she'll be back this weekend unless there was a complete turnaround or a misdiagnosis there on Sunday. But yeah, huge loss. Obviously, how do you fill the hole like that? It won't be easy in such a short. And I imagine they built the whole defensive system kind of around her more or less. But yeah, they'll have to soldier on, won't they?
Yeah, we spoke about all the little subplots with Tipp and Cork last Sunday before the game, and Lauren Fitzpatrick's going to be coming up against most of our clubmates on Sunday as well. Another subplot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, won't it? Will there be a few sly shoulders and digs going on as she runs out the field as she tends to do on the ball? It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that for definite.
Yeah, it was interesting the amount of times that she actually moved so far forward last Sunday at Dearbhla.
Yeah, it was. I was taken back twice during the game. She was actually up at the opposite 45, and with only one Tipp girl behind her, and she's sitting around just there. And the thing with Lauren is she's her confidence is fantastic. As a goalkeeper, she reads the game phenomenally, and then to be pushing herself out and sitting around there, and she lets everyone know what's going on around. You hear her all the time, and then as soon as that ball is turned over, though, she is straight back up to her goal as if she wasn't out where she was sitting. And it's amazing, really, because she comes up there and straight away she's back around, but you hear all the crowd like, look, where's the goalie going? But as I said, she has the confidence to do it. She can read the game and she dictates where her players go. And I really enjoy her as a goalkeeper. I think she's really good. But I think it's crazy the way she pushes herself up and sits around, the opposite 45, like as if nothing, like.
Yeah, I said it in commentary the other day, Paul, and Dearbhla is a bit young to remember. It was Rene Higuita type like, and he got caught in 1990 back in a World Cup doing it. But watching what Lauren Fitz does is unbelievable, the confidence.
Yeah. The next thing she needs to do is start scoring points like we see Niall Morgan and the lads doing. But yeah, it must. And then Peter Creed must have huge confidence in her as well to let her do it. Like a lot of managers will be saying, get back, what are you doing up there? But he has the confidence to let her. And as Dearbhla says, she does seem to have a real presence on the field, and you do hear her talking all the time. And because if you were a defender and you didn't know her too well, you'd be like, oh God, what is she doing? You look back and there's no one in the goals. Might be a bit disconcerting, but I suppose they're used to it and they know how good she is, and she very rarely gets caught.
Would it be an argument that if Tipp needed scores to put Steph Walsh into goal and move her out centre forward or something? Or would it be two balls, I think, to do that?
It's a hard one, to be honest, because you see Lauren going off on her solo runs, and she's always there for that second play anyway. So it's like she's mad to go anyway. So, I've no doubt that, you know, if it came to that situation, that Peter would have no bother pushing her the whole way up to the field, and I could see Lauren genuinely scoring a few scores, you know, because she has it in her. You see her getting the ball all the time, and she's so confident on that ball, and she demands it as much as she can, and she's always there for the off the shoulder running. You know, it's like she doesn't like to be just around even around the D. Like that's even still too close to the goal for her. You know, she likes her freedom, and to push her up, I could genuinely see her doing it and getting a few scores for herself.
Yeah, and I suppose like we are saying it's great confidence, but on a negative, that's probably what caught them last Sunday for the goal, Paul, because they had every player inside the Tipp half or the Cork half when they got back to 2 points. Now, they've done it twice before that, trying to get back into the game, but there's pros and cons for it, pushing players up like that.
What do you do? Like, do you want to go out and try and win these games, or do you just want to not lose by too much? So you'd have to admire him for going for it, I suppose. And she is a weapon that you can throw into things, and she is a runner off the shoulder and the extra player over. So I don't know. I think at this stage, I think they should be trying out things. I think they should be going for things to be the way I look at it. I know they did get caught on Sunday, but I don't know. I'd be saying keep trying and see how you get on with it for another couple of games anyway. I think I know it didn't work out 100%, but they did get the goal now. So does it just balance itself out? I don't know.
Yeah, no guts, no glory, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, just touching Dearbhla, the under 21 finals were played Bank Holiday Monday. Feathered phenomenal again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think Tipperary's football alone, just the clubs, you know, what all these clubs are producing, like, even it's really, really developing at the younger ages. Like, I see it even here in our own club. Like, we have 2 teams under 10s, we have 2 teams under 12s, and even the younger girls, 6 and 8s, like, we're hitting, you know, the 26s, 27s, you know. So to getting these numbers up, the standard of what Tipp is actually producing is phenomenal, and you see that going all along. But you come into the likes of this under 21 campaign, or even now you're going to have the under 19 and under 17 coming in there in August. The huge advantage, I suppose, for them is that a lot of these girls are playing with their adult teams, you know, and then they get to go out then on their own, say, and you can see that the advantage of them being training with their adult teams, and you know, the junior A's, the seniors, intermediate teams, when they come into their own level, the way they play football is phenomenal. And I seen one of the under 21 games there on Monday, and you knew straight away that these girls were playing already at a high level, because it's phenomenal to watch. And if these girls keep pushing on all the time, you know, it's going to keep developing all the time, and there's going to be huge success for Tipp, you know, if they keep going the way they're going. And you know, hopefully, if this stays going the way it's going, Tipp will be able to enter a second adult team. I know they're caught this year for the senior Bs, but that's another great opportunity for girls. And I see Kerry and Waterford have teams there. You know, so if Tipp keep going the way they're going, you know, there'll be no doubt that they'll have a really strong senior B team even as well.
Yeah, because but I was talking to Paul off air and talking to him earlier on today. Feathered senior team from that 121 team yesterday, they only have Lucy Spillane, Sinead Denahunty and Kate Davey to come back onto that team. Feathered are still going to be the team to beat this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And like, Feathered won their two under 21 finals there at the weekend. But all them girls used to get training together with their now the senior team. And as you said, if they're only missing Lucy, Sinead, and maybe 1 or 2 others, you know, it's phenomenal to see that, like, you know. And Feathered definitely will be the team to beat this year. But what they have produced in the last year and a half has been absolutely phenomenal.
6 of those players played the Division 4 final, went up for the presentation, went in and changed their jersey and started on the Division 1 team. So what they're producing is unreal. They have to be admired.
Yeah, absolutely. you know, at any age to be doing that, like, you know, going up, collecting one trophy, turning around, go back out, play another, and then come up and collect another one. It's crazy, like, but, you know, you see that the work that they put in, you know, they're training week in, week out, and the numbers that they have at their trainings is phenomenal, you know, and it's unbelievable to see that. And, you know, Feathered genuinely are, you know, they have a huge amount of numbers to be picking from, and I know, I think they'll be very, very successful again this year.
Yeah, and Paul, I know you'd have strong connections with Brian Bruce, and 2 heartbreaks for them over the last 2 years. Would it be another kick in them this year?
Actually, I don't know what to say about that, to be honest. I know they're after losing a few players and stuff like that. So, and just from seeing that county finals was the most recent performance from them I've seen, and that Feather team were just all over them in certain aspects. And then Brian Bruce came back at him with their experience. But Feather, definitely, as you mentioned, a very young team, and you can't see them being stopped for a few years really, unless Brian Bruce give it one last kick. But as I said, I think they've lost at least 1 or 2 players who've retired and things like that, which definitely won't help. So I'd say, as you said, Feather, they're probably going to keep coming for another while.
Yeah, well, plenty to look forward to. That Tipperary Championship will be on the CK Streaming YouTube channel. Don't forget that Sunday's games are live and exclusive with CK Streaming and Clubber.ie. And if you go to our social media or go to www.clubber.ie, you'll get access to the game. Thanks for being with us, Paul and Dearbhla, and we'll be talking to you over the weekend.
Thanks a million, Tomás.